Good afternoon and welcome to the Burlington City Council Forum conducted by the Greater Burlington Partnerships Government Relations Committee. My name is Sandy Dockendorf and I will be your moderator today. Our timekeeper is Rachel Lynda with the Greater Burlington Partnership. In the interest of time and fairness to the other candidates, I ask each candidate to observe Rachel's signal and stop your response when time is up. The forum will consist of rounds of questions to which each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond. A decision was made by the Government Relations Committee to have candidates answer the questions impromptu and at random. In other words, they have not seen the questions in advance. Each candidate has picked 3 questions out of a basket just a few minutes ago. Candidates are seated in alphabetical order, though they may not answer questions in that order. The candidates are Antonio Bailey, Jon Billups, Lynda Graham-Murray, Matthew Rinker, Christopher Ruppke, and Terry Schnack. Let's start by having you introduce yourself and share why you are running for a seat on the City Council. You will have 60 seconds to respond. And let's do it in reverse order. Terry, you may start.
Hi, my name's Terry Schnack. I'm a resident of Burlington since 2007. I reside in Burlington with my wife, Angela. I am a business owner. I own a auto repair business in West Burlington called Christian Auto Repair Service. The reason I chose to run for City Council was after going through the program of Citizens Academy. I found out a lot about our city and what goes on there. I found out that we have a lot of really wonderful amenities, but I also saw some things that could use some work. Being a mechanic at heart, I tend to be a person that tries to fix things, and I want that opportunity to fix. I'm proud of my community of Burlington, and I just want to give back. Thank you.
Next, Christopher Ruppke.
Hi, Christopher Ruppke. Just a quick history. I grew up in the suburb of Chicago, Des Plaines, Illinois, went to college in Ann Arbor, Michigan, Concordia, one of the nautical schools, seminary, St. Louis, Missouri, was in Nebraska 4.5 years, and then been in Burlington since 1994. It's my home. Children went to school here, stepchildren. And so seen a lot of changes in Burlington over the time I have lived here. And I think some positive, some negative. One of the things is I see spending we're bribing people to come in. I'd like to see us do more to get more business here, but without you giving them taxpayers money. I'd like to see Burlington do better in keeping up its older infrastructure. And so I'm running with those concerns and keeping Burlington a fun, safe place, good place to live.
Thank you. Jon Billups.
Rinker.
Oops. Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. I did this backwards. Matthew Rinker. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. I didn't want to step on John's toes. So first and foremost, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you to the Burlington Chamber of Commerce, Greater Burlington Partnership, and the Government Relations Committee for putting this on. It's extremely important for voters to get information. So my name is Matthew Rinker, born and raised in Burlington, Iowa. Lived in the same house until I left the military at the age of 19. Spent 4 years running around the world with tours in California, Iraq, and Greece. Came back home where I wanted to be and got married. I have 5 children. I went to school at Western Illinois University where I graduated with a bachelor's degree in political science and economics. And I've spent the last 10 years owning my own insurance agency. And then I work outside of that office on real estate and have been a Burlington City Councilman in the last 4 years. I'm running, as I did in 2017, to bring fresh ideas to the marketplace and to work to improve the city of Burlington's housing stock, maintain strong fiscal policy, and work to improve our aging infrastructure.
Thank you. Lynda.
Running for council can be frightening. It's been said you will either step forward into growth or backward into safety. I commend all of you for stepping forward. I am running for re-election because of citizen encouragement. They reminded me of the quote, "If not you, then who? I want to uplift, inspire, and magnify the citizen voters for whom I make every attempt to get back to when they call me, when they email me, or text me. My role on council over the past 4 years has made me dig a bit deeper, work a bit harder, and think a bit broader. I've learned a great deal, including how much blood, sweat, and caffeine it takes to get through budgetary season. Along the way, I have stopped to enjoy the ride, and I have deepened appreciation for folks who don't always look like me, think like me, or live like me. But at the end of the day, we all have similar goals, and that is the benefit of Burlington.
Thank you. And the second time I've called you. Now,
Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah.
I would echo Matt's statements. Thank you to the Greater Burlington Partnership for putting this on today. Thank you for anyone that's tuning in and the people in the audience. I, like most of the people, everybody sitting here, am a Burlingtonian, and that's why I decided to run for council 4 years ago. Burlington has been a good city for my family and my friends, and I felt it was time to volunteer. I've volunteered all over Burlington for the last 35 years, and this was the next logical step for me. And I've served 4 years on this council. I've served proudly. I'm very proud of Burlington, and warts and all, because we're like any other town. We have issues we need to work on. But Burlington is a great city. Our motto is a great place to live, work, and play. And I will work my hardest to make sure we live up to that motto every day. So thank you for the opportunity. Please vote for me November 2nd.
thank you. Antonio Bailey.
Hi, my name's Antonio Bailey. I am a resident of Burlington, have been for 27 years. I moved here in 1996 as a hope of changing my life, which I did. I came from a small town in Mississippi. I wanted change, and I came here to make that change. Also, over the years, I've realized a lot of things in Burlington that can change if we work together to make that change. The reason why I wanted to run for council is because I can be a beacon of change, and together as a city, we can grow with that change.
Thank you. This first question, we're going to go back into alphabetical order just so you can follow along. Okay. Well, I'm going to give them some instruction. Can I go on with the instruction? Thank you. You will have 90 seconds to answer the question. You're going to choose at random one of the 3 questions in front of you. Please read the question so we all know what you're answering. And when you start answering, Rachel will start the timer. So Antonio, if you would start, please.
Okay, the first question. What would be your response to someone who does not support the referendum to reinstate the local option sales tax? Do you yourself support the tax? Yes, I literally do support that tax. Eventually, we know taxes will be raised. Everything is going up these days. Property is going up, gas is going up, groceries are going up. I do support the sales tax. I support it all. I mean, that's basically, it's really simple. You know, we have to get on board. We do know things do change over time, even the cost of living. We do expect that to go up maybe in years or so, but we want to be prepared. We want to keep Burlington on the same plateau as everyone else.
Thank you. John?
I'm going to go with this question right here. What initiatives would you propose to drive economic growth in Burlington? Now, that's a good question, because typically the city is not overly involved in economic growth. We work closely with the chamber and the Grow Greater Burlington Partnership. However, we can institute policies that assist that. For instance, right now we're considering increasing the funding to the Convention and Tourism Bureau. Years ago, when money was tight, we've cut that funding, and yet Convention and Tourism still have thrived and moved on, and now we have an opportunity to restore their funding. And when you look at the money that hotel motel tax brings in and our sales tax dollars, I feel it's only right to support that. So that's one of the things that I would do. I also meet with Jeremy Hess, the chamber, and we've gone on some recruiting basically visits with people when they've come to town and they want to know how our city works. And I propose that we all work hand in hand to do so. I've always long thought that we could have a keys to our city approach where we bring in the leaders that need to be in the room, talk to a person, whether it's a individual looking at redoing a property or a business, and say, this is how our city works. It's a great city. Here's the people you need to talk to, and let's make it happen. And I'm happy to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynda, would you select a question, please?
The city of Burlington is receiving over $3 million of American Relief Plan funds. How do you think the city should best use these funds? Wow, I only have a minute and a half. We have lots of needs. My understanding was that the COVID relief monies were supposed to be for those hardest hit by the pandemic. So that would put the dollars on the elderly who really got side punched during the pandemic. For example, I know when my father thought he came down with COVID, he was told to go online and make an appointment to see if he had COVID. That was almost a foreign language for him. So, but I think that we could put monies into infrastructure. We have infrastructure needs. I know that we have mental health needs. That was another pocket of people that was really hit hard by the pandemic, was folks just sitting teetering on the verge of a mental health crisis. Schools, public works. I mean, there's a lot of places we could use these monies. I think that we cannot use the money for Cascade Bridge, but I know that a lot of citizens would like to say, let's put the funding there. So to kind of surmise this, there are lots of needs in Burlington, and I think we'll just have to put our heads together and find the best place to use these funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew Rinker, so sorry I made that error before.
It's all right. It's all right. Some people get me confused, John, all the time. It's our haircuts. Appreciate you. All right. You're catching up, buddy.
I would have said the beard, but yeah.
So my question is, the city of Burlington is receiving over $3 million of American Relief Plan funds. How do you think the city should, or how do you think the city should use these funds? I'm not quite sure that makes sense, but anyway. So the $3 million in ARPA funds that we received was support largely from the federal government to help backfill the losses of cities and counties and municipalities around the country as a result of the losses they experienced with the decrease in spending in their communities. So for example, during the COVID period, people spent less money. They spent less money in restaurants, they bought less things, and as a result, we had less revenue. I believe that first and foremost, we need to backfill the funds that we had anticipated revenue in and make sure those funds are made whole at the city level. If we don't do that in the long term, we will end up being forced to borrow money to backfill those funds. At the end of the day, the expenses that we had aren't going to go away. So we have to make sure that those things are taken care of first. Whatever's left in the pot, I believe, should go to support Burlington's aging infrastructure. Again, the support on aging infrastructure is going to offset any required bonding in the future, which is going to help us maintain the existing property tax rate that we have and not be forced to increase that property tax rate over a longer period of time. I also believe that we have a great opportunity to support things like housing initiatives, renewable energy initiatives, and some other nonprofits in the area that need that support.
Thank you. Christopher Ruppke, please.
My question. In recent years, retail and dining options have expanded throughout the community. These additions help build quality of life. Some believe increasing tourism is a way to sustain a vibrant retail and commercial sector in the community. Do you agree? And where are these opportunities to expand visitor traffic? As follow-up, how should hotel motel tax used as it relates to tourism? It's a long question. With the tourism, you got to remember, I think, when it comes to the retail and dining options, it's not so much of catering to tourism, but into this kind of being a hub where people come to shop, to get their groceries, with the stores we have. I would say being a hub of retail and other has more impact on the dining and retail than tourism. Because if you're touring, you can't only buy so much stuff to take with you when you're touring. It might increase your hotel visits as people visit, but overall, you understand better to understand Burlington as a hub for commerce and bringing people in. To expand visitor traffic, you can put out some of the amenities Burlington has, what type of things people can do for vacation and relaxation. I know the Recplex and that brings in people for soccer tournaments and that's a good encouragement, and that it does bring hotel and tax in. How should it be related in use to tourism? Well, again, as I understand, hotel motel tax does support the chamber and those type of things, the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So keep that up so that can bring more people in. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And in the last in this round, Terry Schnack, please.
How engaged are you in the city's housing issues and discussions? And what are some of the strategies you might suggest to improve housing conditions and affordability in the community? That's several stages to that question. To make housing affordable, there's got to be better jobs. There's got to be higher paying jobs. And I'm not talking like $15 an hour at a fast food restaurant. I'm talking about real jobs, industry that has benefits and good pay that come in so that people are able to afford to buy and to take care of their homes that they have. I think the city of Burlington has done a pretty good job of seeking these types of resources, but I think it needs to be a little more aggressive. You know, the addition of like Silgan Can Company here recently is an example of a big company that came in that hires a lot. The expansion of Shears and such, Case keeping going on and things, good things. Our housing in Burlington though is a problem. There is not a lot of housing available. Especially when you start getting into the median or higher end homes, there's just not that many on the market. I think if I had the opportunity to serve on the city council, one of the things I would.
Thank you. This next round, thank you all for following the instructions perfectly. That was great. We're going to start going back in this direction again, and we're going to start with Christopher Ruppke.
Okay. Question is, one of the most difficult decisions you might have to make as a city councilor will be budgetary. What matters to you more, protecting services or cutting taxes, and why? You have to protect services. You do not want to be cutting police and fire. They need not to be on the cutting block. If you need to keep taxes where they are to provide your police and fire, you can't cut that. They have provided excellent and beneficial service to the city. Other areas to cut taxes in areas where it's more discretionary spending. You need to look at that in a great and difficult way. One of the areas too is you got to be mindful of areas that don't affect the city budget, but the city is collecting tax money on. For example, TIF. The city, I think, as I last looked, was $1.20 per thousand per homeowner when it comes to assessment. That is a way to reduce the city taxes by doing less of TIF, because that is a burden on the taxpayer. And if you take TIF away, the money and the income the city gets remains the same. So that's an easy way, is to reduce your TIF spending. But again, protect services, your vital services. And then you look down the line is what is discretionary. If that can be cut, you can. It needs to be very thoughtfully put forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question from Matthew Rinker, please.
All right, thank you. What would be your approach to creating a 5-year street improvement plan? Who should be involved in creating the plan? And how should streets be selected to be a part of the plan? Well, we don't need to create one because we already have one. We actually just talked about it here a couple of weeks ago, and we talk about it regularly. Ultimately, roads and in the city of Burlington, at the moment, we fund the improvement of those roads at a tune of around $3 million a year. However, our existing infrastructure, just to maintain it, needs about $5 million of investment on an annual basis. So even where we're at today, we are not funding or putting enough money into improving our roads in order to be able to maintain the existing level or quality of roads that we have. So what we do is we partner with the state. They come in and they actually have a vehicle that they drive around the city of Burlington, and it measures essentially how bumpy every street is in the city of Burlington. And it gives each street a grade. That grade is what we use in order to determine the priority that we put on streets and where they're at as far as when we improve them. Ultimately, infrastructure is one of the 3 key areas that the city council has focused on: improving and maintaining infrastructure. Roads are vitally important. We have to have collector roads, we have to have arterial roads, and we have to have neighborhood streets. And people need to be able to get to their homes and their businesses. So we need to continue to work to invest more money into the city of Burlington's roads.
Thank you. Lynda Graham-Murray, next, please.
In your opinion, what is the biggest issue facing the city of Burlington? And what would you like to see as the council's response to the need? Depends on which group of citizens I talk to. Some would say Cascade Bridge needs replaced. Others would say mental health issues. Others would say we need to hire more policemen. So that's a tricky question. I guess I'll go off on a limb and talk about the mental health issue because I'm passionate about that. When I attended the League of Cities training in Coralville about a month and a half ago, this was a hot topic and a lot of people were talking about the mental health issue. We've always been kind of on the verge of it in Iowa, and the pandemic really brought it to the forefront with a lot of people. Actually, some are suffering such high rates of depression and anxiety, they cannot return to the workforce. So that impacts a lot of people's bottom line. So one of the things that Iowa City is doing is they have applied for a grant and they're awarded a pretty hefty grant, and they allow for a psychiatrist to travel along on the police patrol. So instead of jailing people, they actually can talk them down. And there are other things that were in the works, like a mobile unit that would travel out when they knew, in fact, positive that it was a mental health issue, a mental health crisis. So that's just a couple ideas out there. Thank you.
Thank you. John Billups.
All right, Sandy, here we go. If elected, what skill set or expertise will you bring, and how will you leverage that experience for the betterment of Burlington? Skill sets and expertise that I would bring, and I would say, and the reason why I originally ran was communication. I feel that I can reach across the aisles, or reach across to people at disparate opinions and try to build some consensus. That's what made America great, is building consensus and compromising and trying to work out solutions to our problems. I said earlier, experience-wise, I've volunteered just about everywhere here in Burlington. I've been a business owner in Burlington. Now I work for a school system, and I've had a great life here in Burlington. I really have. Because of that life and that life experience and the friends and family and mentors that I lean on, I feel that I have a good network of people to bounce ideas off. I feel I've been a good listener when citizens have concerns, and I try to answer those questions promptly. And a lot of times, if you're listening, those questions will show you the right direction to go. So skill sets and expertise, I think everybody up here has a unique set, and I think they have expertise and skills that they wish to deploy as best they can. I know that I'll do my best to make sure to do so.
Thank you. Antonio Bailey, please.
What initiative would you propose to drive economic growth in Burlington? What I would propose is basically, yes, infrastructure. That is the first thing we need to establish. Once our infrastructure is established, we bring in businesses, give them a small tax break to bring in more businesses, create jobs, make the town grow. The more the town grows, the better we'll be as far as economics, jobs, growth, cost of living, housing. Make it affordable for people to come in. Give them a small tax break for 5 years or so. After that 5 years, they pay the full tax. Give the people a chance. Ultimately, there is no city without the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry Schnack.
In recent years, retail and dining options have expanded throughout the community. These additions help build quality of life. Some believe increasing tourism is a way to sustain a vibrant retail and commercial sector of the community. Do you agree? And where are opportunities to expand visitor traffic? As a follow-up, how should hotel motel tax be used as it relates to tourism? I think right now the city of Burlington's added quite a few different dining facilities and places where you can get a vast variety of atmospheres and cost for meals. So I think we've got a pretty good coverage that way there. I do believe that increasing tourism is a way to bring more money back into the city and also to showcase the wonderful amenities that we do have. That does, by increasing the tourism, that does usually increase the amount of people staying at the hotel motel, which increases the hotel motel income. I think that the money that is used or raised from that hotel motel tax needs to be put into the finances of the city to make sure that our budget is balanced. And it's like John had alluded to earlier, to make sure that we get our bonding status a little better than what it has been. But I don't think we can ignore also that the money needs to be rolled back over partially back into that tourism, because that's where the money came from in the first place. You invest money into things that make you money. Thank you.
Thank you. In this third and last round of questions, we're going to start with John Billups.
Okay. What would be your response to someone who does not support the referendum to reinstate the local option sales tax? Do you yourself support the tax? Yes, I support the tax. It's been around for 28 years. The local option sales tax is a user tax. So basically what that means is whoever is spending the money is what they choose to spend money on. They're paying taxes to help Burlington. In fiscal year 22, it looks like about $4.6 billion will be attributed to the lost, or we call it lost in the city, local option sales tax. And that also 50% of that goes to property tax reform. The other part of that is about 8 officers and 3 squad cars, plus fire department equipment, parks, rec, and other items. This question came up today at lunch, actually, because someone asked, why are we voting on this again? Because it's every 10 years we vote on it. And they asked why I didn't support it being voted on in perpetuity. The reason for that is I think that the citizens need to have the right to review how their city is treating this local option sales tax. It's not a special election, so it doesn't necessarily cost anything extra for the citizens to be able to express their views. I would ask you, regardless of who you vote for up here today, to support the local option sales tax for the betterment of the city of Burlington. Without it, we would probably have to raise property taxes, and we might have to look at some cuts in the law enforcement area. So please support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynda?
Tiny, I can't find it here. In what ways can the city work to grow the population? I love our recent campaign that we had. We live it, you'll love it. And it was an award-winning campaign. And the Travel Association has said that if you build up the riverfront, they will come. So I think that's one thing that we can do. And visitors will say around the world rather, that they do want to travel the length of the Mississippi. Now, we, on the other hand, kind of take Old Miss for granted. We may see her daily in our commute to work, and we really do need to monopolize on the river. As for economic impact there, for every dollar we spend on building up the riverfront, that relates to $20 in revenue. So property values away from the riverfront will increase by 32% on average, and those on the riverfront or near the riverfront increase a whopping 60%. So we should be doing more to attract folks to what I call the Goldilocks zone of America. We don't have weather that's too hot or too cold. So in some aspects, Iowa is just perfect, and we need to monopolize on the visitors that we have to Burlington. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew?
How engaged are you in the city's housing issues and discussions? And what are some strategies you might suggest to improve housing conditions and affordability in the community? So this is something that's really near and dear to my heart. I said it last time for the last debate. If I get an opportunity to sit someone down and have a conversation about housing, I'm always taking them up on that opportunity. As a councilman, I've probably been more aggressive in this realm than my counterparts. And it's something that I've worked really hard over the last 4 years to try and improve. One of the recent things here in partnership with a number of different organizations, we've developed the Housing Improvement Committee here that is overseen here by the Greater Burlington Partnership. And out of that, we've come up with a number of great ideas, 3 which I have been in giant support of. First would be to create housing improvement zones within the city of Burlington, where we could work to have public and private partnerships in order to improve those areas of the community that need the most improvement. The other thing that we could do is incentivize new housing as well as rehabbing of old housing. We have a lot of people who have a lot of homes that they can't afford to take care of, and they need support. And I think one of the things that the city could do is to help them create relationships and find revenue sources to take care of some of those things that they need to take care of. Over the last 4 years, I've also supported more than $4 million of investment into the city of Burlington's bikeability and walkability, which will benefit a lot of the areas in our community that need to see that little brightening up in their area. So,
Thank you. Next is Christopher.
In your opinion, what is the biggest issue facing the city of Burlington? What would you like to see as the council's response to the need? One of the biggest issues is infrastructure. You got to be mindful that you can't add new infrastructure while not taking care of the old infrastructure. You kind of need to start balancing that out. New infrastructure soon becomes old infrastructure, and then you're just further and further behind the 8 ball. The old infrastructure doesn't help with the city overall. It gives a bad opinion when people are looking or thinking of moving. Also, the other thing is housing is the issue too. We need to do some things to help with the houses that are vacant and bringing down neighborhoods. For those who have trouble affording upkeep on houses, I would like to see a public partnership with some fund, let's use 500,000. That would not be a freebie, but people would have to pay it back, and things can be worked out on that. So people can do the main things that keep up a house: roof, plumbing, HVAC, heating and air conditioning. If those are failing in a house, the house soon goes down and becomes a drag on the whole neighborhood. Those are some of those issues. It's not more than this one big issue. It's all kinds of issues that compound on each other and makes everything more difficult to do. Needs a whole system to work on. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry?
In what ways can the city work to grow the population? Well, the things that draw people to a city is good education system, things to do, nice place to live, a safe community without crime, drugs, issues of that sort. So what can the city do about that? Well, you can't do much with the schools other than to make suggestions to the school board. As far as the neighborhoods, keeping them safe, it's one of the things I'm very adamant about, is making sure that all of our citizens of Burlington always feel safe, that our fire, ambulance, and police departments are fully funded to do the jobs that are before them. That's of the utmost importance. Infrastructure's been beat to death, but it's the same old song. Infrastructure has to be there, nice parks, nice amenities, things for families to do, family friendly. Doing what we can financially to make sure that we keep our taxes down to entice people, that, we're not a real high cost area to come to. There's just so many things, but.
Thank you. Antonio?
What would be your approach to creating a 5-year street improvement plan? Who should be involved in creating that plan? How should the streets be selected for part of the plan? As to reiterate something earlier, even though you said you have the state coming in, driving the streets, why do we need the state coming in, driving on the streets? We know what our streets need. We can go set a committee, create a committee to come in, put ideas together, think outside the box, and literally put together a good, solid plan to rebuild the worst streets in town. We can start the worst, and then the ones that's the least worst. But ultimately, the goal is to rebuild every street we have to make it drivable without bumps. We know nothing's going to be perfect. No streets are going to be perfect. But we want to rebuild those streets that we're having the most issues on. It also makes our town better, makes it beautiful. It presents a good face that when people that doesn't live in Burlington come to Burlington and visit. Most streets I go to, and I've been all over town, some streets are just horrible. But a 5-year plan to rebuild every street in Burlington would be feasible with the right people in place. Thank you.
Thank you. In your closing remarks, please share with us what sets you apart from the other candidates. And we will really be random in this selection now, so hopefully I won't make an error. We're going to start with Terry Schnack. Oops, sorry. Good to go. Terry, we'll start with you.
Okay, the biggest reason I want to be on the city council is because I want to make a change. And I believe by being on the city council, that's the best place that I can do that. I'm not saying that everything is wrong. I'm just saying there's a few things that could be improved on and such. Again, public safety is my banner that I will beat to death, that people need to be safe. The other thing is I really want to make sure that there's financial good thinking going on. There's a lot of things that are going on where things are being built and really don't know if there's any plans there for how we're going to maintain these things. We've already got a Cascade Bridge that fell into disrepair and it's no funds to take care of it. How many more Cascade Bridges do we need to put up in Burlington? There needs to be plans and discussions before some of these plans go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Antonio, your closing remarks, please.
The reason why I really want to run is to make that change, to bridge the gap between the city and the people. There's no communication between the people and the city. Most of our people in Burlington don't halfway know what's going on in the city of Burlington until they pick up the newspaper and read the newspaper. We want to bridge that gap to where there is communication with the people on certain projects, on certain things, to come up with different ideas of thinking outside the box of making things work in Burlington. I want to build Burlington to be one of the greatest cities in America. That's with police, that's infrastructure, that's jobs. We want to be on the same page. We want to get the people involved. The more we get the people involved, the better things will be. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher Ruppke, please.
Thank you for posting this today. And I want to make Burlington a better place. And one of the things you got to remember is any money the city has is taxpayer money. It needs to be used wisely and correctly. Also, you got to remember you have to stop robbing Peter to pay Paul. And that's been happening a lot. The taxpayers are up to pay for new things. For example, with TIF, tax increment and financing, it's a robbing Peter to pay Paul. The old police department that's been torn down, they're getting $2.5 million of TIF. And according to my figuring, it's going to take 14 years before you get a positive tax return for that money. In the meantime, the taxpayers, the current homeowners, are paying for that. And you can't do that. You can't rob Peter to pay Paul. You need to build everything up so you taxpayers are not overly burdened. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is John Billups, please.
Well, I think the question was on the wrap up is what makes us different. And, you know, I'll commend these 5 people sitting up here with me. They've stepped forward. This is a nerve wracking process. You know, my last campaign, I was called one of the good old boys, and I took that as a mantle because, yeah, I was a good old boy that loved Burlington and was going to do everything I could in my power to make it better. Recently, I was called the Facebook mayor. And yeah, I am the Facebook mayor because I'm all over social media defending the citizens and also correcting misnomers about what's going on with city business. I feel I've been a good leader on several items for Burlington. DESCOM was one of the issues. There was a disagreement over the funding for years. We resolved that. We have a new trash can program, Tiger Grant, flood wall is continuing to roll. And I've built the relationships up with the governor and the state senators and House reps and the federal senators to continue that. So please vote for me November 2nd. Thanks.
Thank you. Matthew.
Thank you. And again, thank you to everyone putting this on, everyone watching at home or in your office right now. So really appreciate it. At the end of the day, your vote and your input is what drives how this city looks and how this city grows for the future. So I appreciate that. I think what sets me apart is really my experience, not only as a councilman, but as a business owner, as a father, and as a community leader. The other thing is just the ideas that I have that I bring to the meeting on a regular basis. I consider myself an outside the box thinker, and I think that that's been a benefit to the existing council and it will be a benefit to future councils. Also, my aggressiveness in order to get things done. I think if you talk to the other 2 existing council members or other people in the community I've worked with, I'm extremely aggressive when it comes to ideas, trying to work to make sure that we are improving the city of Burlington. At the end of the day, as I ask for your support, I will always continue to work to improve the city's housing, maintain our financial strength, and improve our infrastructure. And I'd appreciate your support on election day.
Thank you. Lynda.
City government is government closest to the people. While at times the challenges we face in Burlington can sometimes seem insurmountable, every once in a while we have to look back down the ladder and remind ourselves how far we have come. I recognize that my chief function is to serve the best interests of the people, serving the people at all times, no exceptions. Burlington is a diamond in the rough. Her best days are yet ahead of her. With a visionary like myself, we can chisel this gem of a city to be something we can all be very proud of. Meeting new challenges doesn't require new values. It requires leaders who are true to the values of public service, values I have like integrity, honesty, and humility. I am humbled and honored that some of you selected me as a candidate in the primary, but nothing is to be taken for granted. So head to the courthouse and vote for me, Lynda Murray. Thank you.
Public service can often be a thankless job, and we definitely need dedicated individuals to serve. I want to thank you all for your interest in serving the Burlington community. I'd also like to thank the Greater Burlington Partnership and its Government Relations Committee for hosting this event, thanking the people who are actually here in the room participating and those of you who are online. Please vote for the candidates of your choice in the city of Burlington on Tuesday, November 2nd. Thank you all.